Hello there, and welcome to Uncut with Gina and Sukhdev. This is our third series, and I am thrilled to be introducing our guest today. It's Brenda Jacobson, and I'm going to read you her bio. Brenda Jacobson is the founder of Awakening Consciously. Her 25-year career as a finance executive and business strategist came to an abrupt halt when she fell 3,000 feet down a mountain while skiing. The 5 years of recovery brought her to life her passion for helping people optimize every level of their beings. In her search for tools and techniques, she delved deep into the energy body and chakra systems. She says this became the user manual she was always seeking for her life. Today, she helps people awaken to and access the power of this ancient tool for the extreme challenges we're facing in the 21st century. Welcome, Brenda.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Would you like to share some of your amazing story with us?
Well, I was in the C-suite, so I was working full-time as a chief financial officer and took a day off to go skiing. However, leading up to that, I was feeling like I needed to get out of that job. But I couldn't figure out how to get out because it was my only source of income. But I was, over the last couple of years leading up to it, I was just feeling like I needed to be doing something different, but I didn't know what that was, which made it even more scary moving in. When you don't know where you're going, it's hard to jump off a known path and onto the unknown. And so I went out skiing one day and caught an edge right at the top of the mountain, right as I got off the chairlift. And I didn't, it was a very steep, long, steep run, and I didn't stop tumbling until I hit the bottom, which was about 3,000 feet later. So it took me about 5 years to recover from that. And at the end of that recovery, there's no way I could go back in to doing what I was doing before. So I think it was a way of knocking some sense into me and getting me to listen and get my life on the right path. So that's exactly what it did. Mission accomplished. And I look back and think, it could have, a lot of people would look at that as a tragedy. I had to rebuild every aspect of my body. My physical body was quite broken down. Emotionally, I was stuck with anger that my life had disappeared, disgusted with what my body would and wouldn't do. It would gain weight, but it would not let me walk to the end of my driveway so that I could start getting some fitness back in. And, my friends just all kind of disappeared because I literally could not get off the couch for the first 3 years of that. And so I was really stuck emotionally in that, which I think added probably 2 to 3 years to the recovery time, was just being stuck in the emotions. And then, and then I had, I was mad at myself. I was mad at my guides. I was mad at God. I was, every aspect of me had to be rebuilt. And it was a tremendous gift. I look back now and go, what appears to be a huge tragedy turned out to be probably the most productive time of my life in getting me on purpose, onto what I should be doing. And I've been doing that ever since. And it's been about, the accident was in 2009. So it's been about 12 years.
And talk us through what it is you do now.
What it is I do now. One of the things that I learned as I was trying to rebuild every aspect of my life, I couldn't find a tool that would deal with mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual all together. I had to go in different directions, and I did not have the bandwidth to look at multiple tools. I just wanted a solution. So I emerged from that journey through that with a real passion to help people pull together every aspect of their life, no matter where their challenges were. Because one day we might have a physical challenge, and if we look deeper at it, we realize that there's an emotion behind that. And so they're not separate aspects of us. They're very, very integrated. And what I discovered, and I had been working with the energy body before, but it kind of came in at a new level of just how profound it is in healing every aspect of our lives and dealing with bringing everything into balance. So I dug very deep into that, used it in my own recovery. And that now I put together courses and meditations and strategies. My passion really is to get people to understand what this very ancient tool is and just how relevant. I think it's more relevant in all of the challenges that we're going through in these current times than it was 5,000 years ago. So it's, so I just help people understand it, how to use it, how to read it. It really is like, it's not healing people, but it is giving them the tools where they can heal themselves. So it's the teaching a man to fish instead of giving him a fish. And I really take joy in that.
Brilliant. Sukhdev, do you want to make a start?
Yes. So thank you so much for being here and sharing everything you have so far. One thing I'd like to know is when you went through that accident and you're talking about how you were feeling angry and you were kind of mad at the world sort of thing, what was there like a rock bottom moment where you were like, you know what, forget this, that's enough of this, I'm gonna do something and I'm gonna create something? Do you recall a moment when that happened for you?
It wasn't like an overnight thing, it was a buildup. And what it was when it took me about a year to figure out what I had done to myself, tumbling down the mountain. It took another 2 years to actually heal that. And then I think that was the moment when I came out. I tried to get back into CFO stuff. That didn't work. And then I just got the real aha at that point in time that said, I'm supposed to be on a different path. And that's when, you know, I didn't even have to go looking for the tool. Once you realize and you get aligned and you build that connection, the answers come to you so boldly that you just can't possibly ignore them. So it was once I went, there's a deeper message in all of this. One of the things I teach people is changing their language from 2 to 4. So changing from why did this happen to me to why did this happen for me? And when you reframe that question to the subconscious mind, when you ask it, why did this happen to me? It will go looking for all the reasons that you deserve to be a victim. And it will bring up everything that you've ever done in your life and every shame that you've ever experienced. And it will prove that you deserve this to happen to you. When you change that to why does this happen for me, the subconscious mind automatically starts looking for the lessons and looking for the gifts. And it was when I kind of hit that point and I changed my language around that man, the gifts just started coming through. And as soon as I realized why this has happened and what was in it for me, it's like they say, when the student is ready, the teacher will come. All kinds of things started showing up. So I would say that's probably the moment that led to that.
Yeah. Can you share some of the things that happened and like how the law of attraction started working for you and things started aligning?
Yeah, I was, so I went on a journey. I ended up in India for about 3 months. And then I came back and went up and did a 10-day silent meditation retreat. Came back from, that was the hardest thing I've ever done. That was harder than my recovery, was being silent for 10 days. But I did make it through. And I just remember coming back, and it was culture shock coming back into the noise that we live in. And it drove me crazy. And in my meditation one morning, I'd been back for about 3 or 4 days. And I just went, I don't want to be here. I'm just going to sell everything I have and crawl in, rent a little basement suite and just wait out my time there. I don't want to be involved in this. And I got out of bed and I sat down at my computer and started working on the chakra courses and the meditations. And my left brain, which is where I'd spent most of my life, being in finance and strategy, and it's sitting there saying to me, what are you doing? Like, this makes no sense. This is old stuff. You did this like 8 years ago. move on. Why am I looking at this again? I don't want to be doing this. It put up such an argument, but I could not get away from my computer. And I worked 15 hours for a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. By about Saturday night, I'd come around. The left brain had settled down a bit, and I was going, this is really good stuff. Like, this is really cool. And people need this stuff. So then I started getting on board with it. And I, in that 4 days, and like I say, 15 hours, I could not move out of my chair. And I wrote a book. I developed courses. I finished off my meditation series. There's so much happened in that 4 days that that really launched this, launched the whole program. So it was, and it was, had to be, there was no other way to describe it than it was divine guidance. And once you get on track and you recognize the message, there's just no way to deny it. I could not move away from there, no matter how badly I wanted to. I couldn't ignore that.
Yeah. Did people start showing up and offers started coming and all that? And
all kinds of things started happening. I hadn't had income since, when I'd actually left in 2007, left my corporate career, and I hadn't had income till then. And all kinds of money was showing up just to help me get through and come along and do the work that I had to do. And there was still a lot of learning that I had to do personally in order to be in a position to really teach other people. I knew it. I knew how to use it personally, but knowing it and being able to teach it are two different things. And so I had to go through a lot of experience. I started another company that focused primarily on emotional intelligence, which was really critical. Emotions are really at the base of every place that we're blocked in our lives. You're having trouble financially, there's an emotion stuck somewhere. And same thing with physically and in relationships and in your job. And I delved really deep into that to understand the foundation of the emotions that will keep us stuck. And they're directly related to the chakra system. So it took me deeper into the chakras themselves and understanding fear. Fear is the opponent of that very first chakra, and just understanding the depth of the impact that fear can have in our lives, and how many things, like fear is probably one of the most prevalent emotions that will keep us stuck. So
before we go any further, because there may be people, I'm sure lots of people are familiar at some level with the chakra system, but there'll be some of our viewers and listeners for whom they've heard the words, but they have no real understanding of what you mean. Can you give us an explanation that will help people sort of tune in to the power of what you're doing?
Can. The chakra, the energy body, is a series of meridians that run through our physical body. And these have been scientifically proven to exist. They injected radioactive dye in people and tracked it through. And they know that these meridians exist. They are from ancient Eastern philosophies. I mean, some of the gurus have known about these for 5,000 plus years. It's the basis of their medicine over in the East. And what happens is the energy from the earth and the energy from the universe come in through the chakras, which are just the gateways. They're like the gateways where energy comes into the system and gets into those meridians. And then it feeds from there out into every cell, every organ, every system, every space between cells, every element of our being is fed energy through these two, through the meridians and the chakra systems. So it really, if you're familiar with yoga or you're familiar with acupuncture, those are all based on the meridians and the chakra systems.
And although I believe there are many more than the 7 main chakras that people refer to, could you please outline those 7 and the emotions that perhaps you would associate with each of those?
Okay, I sure can. So they start at the root of this, at the the root chakra, which is right at the tailbone, and it shoots down into the earth. And that is primarily where earth energy will come up into our body. When you think of human beings as electromagnetic beings, which science has shown us to be, the earth is it's a giant magnet. We live on a magnet. And so that's where we draw the magnetic energy up into our bodies, is through that root chakra. And then we have 5 chakras in between there, and the crown chakra, which points up into the universe and draws in the electrical energy of the universe. We know the electrical component of the universe. We see lightning and those electrical storms all the time. That's the electrical energy that comes into our body and blends with the magnetic energy and feeds out into our cells, making us electromagnetic beings. So there's the 5 chakras in between, which go for the sacral, which is right in the pubic area, the solar plex chakra in the solar plexus, the heart, the throat, and the third eye, which is right in the forehead between the eyebrows. And they all, when we look at the root chakra, really is the foundation for all of that. It's like building, it is like building a house. It's a sub-basement. It is the foundation that everything is built on. And so it's really critical that that is as strong as it possibly can be. It's where we hold our physical identity, all of our physical health, everything physical that we have in our world, our jobs, our health, our finances. The first chakra is basically a container that we build to hold everything that we want in our lives. So really critical that there is a powerful ground there, and that we make that chakra as healthy as we can. The second chakra, which faces front and back, 2 openings, is really about self-gratification. So any emotions around pleasure, pain, it's our emotional body. And so when we're stuck emotionally, it's in that second chakra that we will look for the healing and what's out of balance. In the second chakra is where we will hide our shadow. If you've ever heard anybody talk about the shadow, those are all the emotions that we don't want to face, so we stuff down and we think they've gone away and we've done a really good job, but all they've done is gone and hidden in the shadow. And you see people that will just blow up at the slightest thing. You know, the straw that breaks the camel's back and somebody blows, it's because it's come out of that shadow. It does not go away. Solar plexus chakra is about self-definition. So it's where we really get to know who we are, what our soul integrity is, and it's where we reclaim our personal power. You can't have power when you're letting somebody else direct your life. You're giving them all of that power. When you can step into that core of who you are and find your truth, you become exponentially more powerful than you could even imagine. You've got the power to move worlds from that place. So many people do what they're told to do. They do what they think they're supposed to do, what society tells them, what their peers tell them. So many, vast majority of people live their lives according to other people's agendas, not to their own. And when we can really get them tapped into what their inner truth is, and there's a lot of tools out there that reveal parts of it, a lot of personality assessments, and they all provide great data, but it really is it's an inside job to process through that data and figure out what fits and what blends and what means something. You know, when you're asked to do something that really doesn't feel right to you, and you'll get right in the solar plexus, you'll feel nauseous, or you'll get that feeling in the pit of your stomach that something is off there. That's your truth. That's that third chakra that is telling you that something's not right. You are not in alignment with your truth. And so being able to learn to read those signals, when I get that in my pit of my stomach, even if my head thinks this is the best idea in the world, when I get that feeling in the pit of my stomach, I'll back right off. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, I don't need to go down any more mountains, I'll tell you. I'm done with that. So that's the third chakra. The fourth chakra is in the heart. So it is all about self-acceptance, self-love. And we know that you can't possibly love another person until you have that degree of love within yourself. Can't give away something that you don't have. So it is about balance, about giving and receiving love, but it all starts with loving yourself. Now, as they build through, you can't love yourself if you don't know who you are. If you're not willing to accept who you are at the truth of your being, you can't possibly fall in love with that person, which is, I think, why we have a lot of problems in society. Loving, self-love is a really big issue for a lot of people. Many people that I know are very good at giving, but receiving, the doors are blocked and the window shades are down and nothing is coming in. And it's because they don't really love themselves. They're not being true to themselves. They're not accepting who they are. And it's really hard to love that. So we work on that in the heart chakra. And then in the throat chakra, once you have defined yourself in the third chakra and fallen in love with yourself in the heart chakra, it is so much easier to speak your truth and to be verbal. We work on the voice, but it's communication, as we know, is much more than just the voice. It's your body language, it's your facial expressions, it's, the kind of people that you attract into your life. So it sets your resonant frequency of your being comes in through that throat chakra. And that dictates what you attract into your life, including the type of people that will come in. The people that are showing up in my life now, there's not many of them at all that don't so totally align with who I know I'm here to be. It's like you and I, Gina, when we met, it was just like automatic. It's like that magnetism, right? Very, very powerful when you're willing to speak your truth. When you have a really strong throat chakra, you are really comfortable in speaking your truth, even if you think nobody's going to agree with you, even if you're, which I often am and have been most of my life, if I'm kind of the outlier in the group and I see the world totally differently than everybody else, I would hide from that when I was younger. Like, it was not safe. It was not safe for me to be that different. Now that I know and love myself, I have no problem in voicing my opinion, not pushing it on people, not expecting other people to agree with it, but very comfortable expressing who I am. And that opens up a phenomenal number of doors and relationships and flow of people and opportunities and possibilities when you're really willing to open up and express that. And then we get up into the spiritual chakras, the third eye, which is where the imagination lives. And it's the home of our intuition. And it's really about distinguishing between imagination and illusion. So illusion is what will take you offside. People will get attached to a certain story being reality, and that takes them down an unfriendly path. But being able to determine between that, we see archetypes and symbols show up in the third eye chakra. Early on this journey for me, I introduced to animal medicine. And that's a native part of the native culture, where they see animals as messengers. And you can buy books. Like, I've got 3-4 different books where I can, if a mosquito shows up, I can look it up and figure out what the message is. But just recognizing the symbols and knowing that they have value, that all comes from a healthy third eye chakra. And then up into the crown is really where we come into our universal identity, and we realize that we are one with everything that is out there. And we see the interconnectedness of life and what big part we play within that, and how worthy we are to step up into that realm of angels and all of those spiritual guides, and really open to receiving all of that. So sorry for the dog. So that's kind of a quick tour through the chakras, and we just teach people how to read those, read the symptoms of damage, understand how the chakras can be damaged either in an excessive way or in a deficient way. And there's different symptoms associated with each of those for each of the chakras, but being able to say, here's what's going on in my life. It means that this chakra is distorted, and here are the healing strategies that I can use to get it back into balance. That's what I do.
That's great. Sukhdev.
Yeah. So what sort of clients or people are like I've never gone through the chakra system like myself.
Yeah.
I've never performed or anything. So like I've seen it though. Is it when people are laying down and you put like a stone or a crystal? Is that right? Is that what it is?
There's all different things that will heal them, right from certain sounds, because sound has vibration. Sound was the original healer. And so there are certain sounds that resonate with each of the chakras. So you can, there's not a one size fits all. I have created meditations for each of the, for the overall energy body, and then one for each of the chakras that helps. And they call to some people and they don't call to other people. There's yoga positions that are, that specifically help to heal certain chakras, different positions for each one. There is all different types of meditations that you can do. There's essential oils that really create the flow of energy through those things. So it's, yes, and you can go to healers that will use, acupuncture. Acupuncture is one of my favorite strategies for healing. It was one of the things that got me back to life after my accident, because my body was so twisted that those meridians, instead of going like this, they were kind of all over the place, and there was blocks in the meridians. And what acupuncture does is just stimulates that energy. It's like turning on a garden hose. If you have a block in there, and if you turn the water, enough pressure in the water, it will flush the block out. That's what acupuncture does to the meridians. And then it heals the chakras in the meridians and opens up those gateways.
I'd like
all kinds of things.
That's, I think we've been really helpful. I'd like to ask you about the meditation, the healing meditations, okay, how they came to you. And I know how many hundreds of thousands of people have now downloaded and listened to it.
I haven't looked, but in about 2 minutes, and I really just put it out there for, kind of trusted it to do its thing, and it did. One of the guys that I was talking to about it was trying to convince me that I needed to get more active in this, that this was helping people. And in 2 minutes, he found 2 sites where people had uploaded it to their own like YouTube channels. And in those, there was over 100,000 downloads in those 2. And he said, that's in 2 minutes, Brenda. Like he said, if I really did a deep dive, there would probably be millions. This was a man that reached, sorry,
I was going to say, these are meditations that I've used and found to be really great, partly because, because they work, but also that you listen to them as you go to sleep. So people who say, I'm too busy, I can't get on with it,
yeah.
You put these on and you actually go to sleep to them. But they came
well, the first one, that's true.
First one, that's true. Okay.
Yeah.
But it came to you in a very special way, didn't it?
It did. And it was at a time when I was finally acknowledging that I was not to be a CFO anymore. And I was trying to figure out how to make that shift from, the known world to the unknown world. And it was hard. It was an extremely hard time, and I was struggling with it. And one day when I was meditating, I'd meditated for years, but in one of my meditations, I was given this system to follow that just helped me clear the energies, the contracting energies out of each of the chakras, and flush it down into the earth, have the earth energy transmute it, bring it back in as fresh, vibrant, living energy. And so I did that for about 8 weeks, and man, the journey was made so much easier. And I just loved it. And I did it every day in my meditation. I ran through this thing. It took me about 20 minutes. And then one day I was told it's time to get it out to people. And I'm going, what does that even mean? Like, I'm a CFO at heart. I have no media background or recording background. How the heck am I supposed to get this out? And sure enough, I kind of fought it for a little bit, and then I went, well, whatever. And then producer came along, and the artist came along for the cover. And honestly, from the time I was told to do that, and I fought it for like 3 months and tried to ignore it. And then within that next 3 months, the CD was out. But this was in 2008. So it was really before iTunes was even a thing, or, you know, there just wasn't like, now what? You know, great. Now I have 500 hard copy CDs. Now what? And I didn't know what to do with them. So I just gave them away like business cards to people. Hey, try this. Let me know what you think. One of the kids that I gave it to uploaded it to a free download site, and without telling me. And we stumbled across it in a very bizarre way after it had been up for a couple of months. And I talked to him about it. And I understand why he did it. There was no anger involved. But he said, now that I know you're okay with it, Brenda, do you know, like, have you seen what this has done? And I said, no. And he said, it has been the top download for over 2 months on this site. It was one of those torrent sites. And he said it has downloaded over 40,000 times just in those 2 months. And this was before digital music was really as big as it is now. And then he put my name on it, and I started getting testimonials from all over the planet on how this had healed different aspects. Everybody's story was different, but these profound stories that were coming from like Sweden and Australia and Czechoslovakia and Thailand and just everywhere. And it just made me realize that it was meant to get out that way. I wouldn't have known enough to do that on my own. He had to step up. And if he'd asked my permission, I probably would have said no, because I didn't understand it. So it had to happen exactly how it happened to get it out to people. And I was blown away. That was actually before the accident that happened, before my accident. And so that happened like right through 2008. And then in 2009, I fell down the mountain, and my life kind of came to a screeching halt for about 5 years. I didn't think much about this stuff. I didn't think anything about the meditation that had floated out there. And until June of 2020, when a gentleman reached out to me just through LinkedIn, sent me a message saying, you know, I came across your meditation maybe 10 years ago. I've used it every single day. It has become my center of gravity. It taught me to see the world a different way, to see myself a different way. He said, this has changed my life. And I just want to thank you. I didn't know him. He didn't know me. He said, I just want to thank you for being you and for listening and for making this available to people. I found out later, we struck up a friendship because it was so out of the blue and such a profound story. But he had said at the time that he had discovered it, he was homeless. And he is now worth multiple millions, if not into the billions of dollars in assets that he owns. And he said to me, every success I've had in my life is because of this meditation. So that was what kind of pulled the plug and got me knowing that now this track is ready for me to engage in once again for the third time around. It's time. And I think that it's really time for the world. The world's ready for this. They weren't ready for this in 2008. People were still sleeping pretty solidly. But people are really, especially after COVID, people are really starting to wake up and be looking for a different way forward, a way that they can take control of their own lives. And I think it's just time for this, for people to learn how they can be the master of their own destiny.
Wow, what a testimonial, eh?
Yes.
So people can access this meditation.
They can.
How do they get to it?
Probably the easiest way, you can look it up. It's called the Awakening Consciously app. It's on both, available to both Apple and Android. I've got a website called awakeningconsciously.com. And if you do /app or look at the app page in the top menu bar, there's a QR code. You can just take your phone and click on the QR code, and it'll be, it just takes you to a site whichever is consistent with the device that you're clicking on it with, and you can just download it. The only thing on the app, I'm going to expand the app, but right now the reason for the app was after this gentleman had contacted me and said the world really needs this. I decided, I was looking at how's the best way I can get it out to people. And so it's really about the only thing on the app is is really about this meditation. It's the main reason that the app came to life, and it's free. And I just, that's the one that I really encourage people to just put it on at night, go to sleep, and let it do its work. And doesn't have to take time out of your day. It's better when you're sleeping because the conscious mind goes to sleep, the physical body goes to sleep, but the subconscious never goes to sleep. And so the messages get through to the subconscious mind without the interference of the conscious mind going, oh, this is a bunch of bunk. Oh, this doesn't make sense. I don't think I'm going to do this. This doesn't make sense to me. Our conscious mind is really plagued with belief systems that came from outside of ourselves. And it will block a lot of the healing strategies. So if you can put it on, let everything go to sleep, let the subconscious work with what's coming through. I have some people that want to listen to it first to make sure that there's not evil messages or something.
I can vouch for the fact there's no evil messages in it. It's verified. Yeah, it's really good.
Now, it's really profound.
You run programs and courses for people to help them take control and charge of their lives through working with their chakra. Tell us a bit about those and where people can find out more.
What I've done with them is I have done a lesson. I ran a couple of groups through where we met every week and we did one chakra a week. And that one is just kind of skimming the surface to give people an overall view of what we call the ladder of seven, the seven chakras, what the energy body is. And then we would have great group discussions around that. What I realized is the power in that was in the group discussions, in the community that was building. So what I've done is I divided it into two courses, one that gives you the energy body overview, and then the first, second, and third chakras. So the lower, kind of the physical chakras. And it's self-paced. It's self-paced. And then you can join a community call every week and ask your questions, listen to what other people are asking and get support from the community, not just from me. It's really the more profound support comes from other people that are on that same journey with you. They might be a chakra or two ahead of you or a chakra or two behind you, but it's just brilliant to see that interaction. So I've divided them into the lower chakra series and then the upper chakra, which are those more spiritual chakras. They get out of the physical, tangible chakras and into the heart is the bridge between the lower and upper, but then the voice and the imagination and the connection, and that's the upper chakra series. So you can take them both, you can buy them both together at a discount or just sign up for one 4-week thing and then join the other one. And then I have other courses that take people deeper into each one of those chakras.
And they can find those where?
On my website under the programs tab. So under awakeningconsciously.com, you can see the programs. There's a programs tab in the menu and you can see them all on there.
And books, some there and some coming. Yes.
So I've got The Awakening Consciously was the book that I wrote back in 2016 after I came back from Vipassana, from the silent retreat, and I couldn't get my butt out of the chair. That produced that book. And I wrote it, didn't publish, but I wrote it. And then just recently after this reemergence of this, I revisited that. And that's published on Amazon as an ebook, and the paperback is coming. Paperback's really nice because you can highlight. It's just nice having that tangible thing. What I'm uploading now is, and it should be out within, I was going to say within the next month, but I don't know when people are listening to this. I would say by the end of April of this year, we'll have a paperback out that's a 30-day wake-up call, which is just little. What we know is people don't have a lot of time these days. Like they're in overwhelm, like they're homeschooling and they're trying to figure this out and they're trying to, like life is just going at such a rapid pace. But these are just little things that you can do in a few minutes a day that start to wake up every aspect of your being. Everything from mindful eating, not what you eat, but how you eat, to breathing exercises, to stimulating your intuition, changing your language. The 2 to 4 is one of the lessons in there that I talked about earlier, profound one. Just all kinds of things in there, that just little things, 30 days of it, just little tidbits. It's a mini course. It's a mini course and workbook, and that'll be out by the end of April. And so much more to come. There's so many ideas. The more you write, it's like they say, the more you learn, the less I know. You know, more ideas keep coming and stuff just keeps flowing. So there will be more.
I thoroughly recommend that, because I have had the great privilege of seeing the draft, and it's absolutely tremendous. So it's definitely one to look out for.
You wrote the foreword for me. Thank you.
That was my great privilege and pleasure. So Sukhdev, before we draw this to a close, are there any other questions that you'd like to ask Brenda?
What did I write down? Oh, yes. Some advice for self-love. We're going back a little bit, but some advice for self-love, because people have a hard time to kind of break away and actually give themselves that self-love. Any advice you have?
Yes, you know, it starts with forgiveness. So we take people through an exploration of, there's a song done, I don't know, back in the 90s maybe, and there's a line in it that said, I'm a child, I'm a lover, I'm a sinner, I'm a saint, I'm a bitch. I can't remember the exact words, but it basically takes us through to realize that we have so many different aspects of ourselves, that we are not just one thing. Like, we are not just the saint and never do anything wrong. We have that sinner as part of us in there. It's that the two sides of the coin are always present. And what people don't like is the dark side of that. They won't embrace themselves as the sinner, or as that, sorry for the languages. It's the language of the song for being a bitch. They hide those things, and they don't like those parts of them. So really where we focus, the other side of that is they don't totally, without embracing that more negative side, they can't possibly love the positive side because it feels inauthentic to them. So if we can marry these two aspects of our beings and accept that we have all of those aspects within ourselves, that then we become, then forgiveness kicks in, and we forgive ourselves for being human, basically, and having all of these things. We embrace them, we bring them into the way of being and out into the light. So they're the ones that hide in the shadow. And when you can pull them out of the shadow and into the light, they become a really brilliant part of yourself. And now, you know, with me, when I'm having a cranky day, I'm the first one to admit that I'm having a really cranky day and I am being really inappropriate here. And that's really okay with me. My grandson said to me, he's used to me being really up most of the time. And I was hanging out with him for a weekend, and he said, Grandma, you're really cranky today. And I said, I know I am. And he goes, what? And I said, you know, I have every right to be cranky. And you're cranky sometimes. He says, I know. And I said, yeah, and I'm really okay with being cranky. But and the whole thing was that I was hangry. Right at supper time, a repairman showed up to fix my dishwasher and consumed my kitchen from 5 o'clock until 8 o'clock. And I couldn't eat. And so I couldn't feed him, and I couldn't, like, nothing was working because my brain was all starving and
you
fogged.
were hungry.
I was hangry. I was. And I said, you know, I am cranky because, you know, and here's why. And this is the cranky side of me that's going to come out. I was totally okay with that. And it wasn't that I was shaming myself for being cranky. I was going, yeah, this is a part of who I am. And that's what happens when you really when you go through the forgiveness exercises that we work on and really come to love every aspect of yourself, not just the ones that look really good to the public, but the hangry side and the cranky person and, you know, the person who fails. You know, I have a problem of being, I call it inappropriately optimistic. And it takes me down a path of kind of looking dumb sometimes at some of the things that I'll jump into. And I'm really okay with that, because it's from that exploration that some brilliant opportunities have exposed themselves. So just falling in love with yourself in that way, forgiving and embracing every aspect of yourself is a beautiful way to heal that heart.
It's great advice, and it's a great way to finish the interview. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a wealth of wisdom and of ways forward. And I would really urge people to go and have a look at your website. Just give it to them one more time before we finish.
It's awakeningconsciously.com. It'll probably be in the notes. Is there notes to the show?
Oh, yes, we'll make sure that they're in the notes. And
we'll do that. But it's awakeningconsciously.com, and it will be ever evolving as I'm growing at an ever increasing speed. And this is what happens when you open to the flow of things. Things start to trickle through, and as you embrace them, they come faster and faster and faster. And this is why books are just like waiting to come out. So
brilliant. Thank you very much. It's been
welcome.
It's been brilliant.
Thank you, Gina. Thank you, Sukhdev. It was lovely to be on your show. I just really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for being here.
And so I would say, if you're watching this and listening to this, please share it. There's a wealth of information to help people. And we look forward to seeing you on the next episode. You take care, and we'll see you then. Bye-bye now.